My name's Scannell. I'm one of the resident artists at the Arlington Center for the Arts, and I do collage art, digital art, and anything else that fancies me. I grew up in a very creative community. Was really supported to explore writing, drawing, being wild in the woods, and using things you collected and found in the woods to build things. And all my friends were very creative, so from a very early age, I think we were all very much so like, I'm going to be an artist, and I'm going to be an artist. And two of us anyway went to art school, and the other one went to anthropology school. So creative, just different kind of creative. I loved drawing all through high school, and decided to choose illustration as an professional art topic I could go to school for and follow through with, and do that for a living. It seemed like the ultimate dream to draw for a living. Who wouldn't like that? But leaving art school as an illustration major, and you go out into the wild, you just can't go out and you're like, okay, I'm ready. It's the business of illustration is very difficult for kids getting out of school. So I ended up getting into sort of digital design with a bunch of other kids that left illustration. Is sort of when the .com growing and booming, and we're all learning how to use the internet and design for it, which led me into the agency world. And I had a moment in the agency world where I just wanted to start creating. So I started making these analog collages and challenging myself with some friends around, how many can you make a month? Can you do one a week? And then ultimately it turned into a challenge with a friend where we gave each other assignments over the course of 2 weeks, and we had a reveal. And I took all of that artwork and divorced it from my personal Instagram account and made a new Instagram account. And crazily and luckily, Instagram reached out to me and asked if they could feature me at one point. And I was like, I guess this must be, super fake. This can't be real. And they ended up featuring me. And that was sort of the beginning of the end, where being pushed out through a channel like that at that magnitude and speed and velocity of getting all these followers, I started to get a bunch of work in the collage style for unknown brands, startup brands, huge brands, which allowed me to start diving into creating more and posting more and having people interested in, showcasing it and bringing it into, their brand and whatnot. And that's how it kind of all started. I am inspired or find inspiration from lots of things. Nature. I love being outside. I love the color play of the sun on whatever it's shining on and how it creates shadow and a variety of translucency. I'm always stunned. I can't believe I'm saying this right now, but I'm stunned at how the light is so different on Cape Cod than it is here and even on the North Shore. But the North Shore brings granite and rocks against the ocean, which is a very different sort of color form and shape. I love like high-end fashion brands and how they reinvent themselves. And I know that Gucci just switched from Michelle Alessandro as their creative director. I forget where he went. But he was so free and had so much fun and explored different ways to wear clothing and what it meant, and challenge the norm. And I love watching how other people challenge the norm and express themselves that way. I find that really inspirational and exciting. When I make my art, and I don't think I'm trying to convey any sort of message. And one of the things I struggle with most as an artist, and I know I'm not alone in this, is if I happen to be at an opening or I happen to be somewhere where I've been asked to talk about my art, people want to know what it means. What was your intended output for this piece? What does it mean? And I never really have a great answer for people. Like, I'm just, which probably sounds terrible as an artist, but like I'm making because I'm excited by what I'm making, and it's in the moment. It's not pre-planned, and I'm more interested in what other people see and feel when they look at my art. I think that's the most exciting thing about making art, because it's so subjective that, like, is someone else interpreting your art? I mean, of course they're interpreting it very differently, but how are they interpreting it compared to how it makes you feel? I have so many tools that are deeply vital to the process. Mini sketchbooks, glue, scissors. I would like to say my computer, but it doesn't travel well. So when I travel, if I just have a little zip bag with a sketchbook, pencils, glue, and a couple of magazines, I can rip stuff, and scissors that I can rip stuff out of or cut up. And now I'm working with alcohol markers, which I really love, which I got for my youngest daughter. They're kind of incredible because they're like painting. I'm terrified of painting. It feels way too loose and out of control for me. Whereas alcohol markers give me a little bit of control, where I can just layer on and create these depths and different layers, and give me that sketch quality. So I have a couple of those in my little zip bag that I can just throw in a bag and go with me wherever I go. So I think those are my basics. The digital design space has been an amazing space for me as an artist. I obviously started my career as a traditional illustrator out of college. The computer game was just starting when we were designing on computers, so I was learning how to make all these things within like Photoshop and all those old programs. And as those programs started to get elevated and figuring out how to design in my professional career, but also translate that into my art career, one of the challenges that was really exciting for me was, how do I take this analog collage stuff, bring it to my digital practice, which I do on a daily basis for my, real world job, and start being able to have a style, if you will, and what does that look like, and how do you interpret that and bring it to the table as an option, and being able to bring that skill set and style from an analog to a digital and ping pong back and forth between it has been so important for jobs that I get, because I can work globally. And it's about just manifesting, like when you're doing work and you have your contracts, like how many pieces am I delivering you? What are the sizes? What are the specs? And then you can just send over email, over the cloud, Dropbox, WeTransfer, whatever you're doing it with. But it's been very helpful in working at a global level versus, gotta DHL something to Europe or, stuff like that. So it's been wonderful to be in the digital field. I feel I'm actually now I'm really interested in AI. I know that's a thing, and artists, it's a thing for artists, good and bad. I understand all of the, frustration and confusion and anger around sort of copywriting issues and what does that mean and how do we deal with that. I feel like in some ways I don't really have a seat at the table to talk about that, because as a collage artist, you're constantly borrowing from other people's things. Even across like ages and decades ago, like, if someone's going to take a portrait of John Wayne and Marilyn Monroe and cut it in half and piece them together, it's collage art, but they're protected by the copyright laws of the entity not being, I forget the rules, but there are rules in place to protect collage artists. So I'm trying to be very respectful of AI and understand how it's affecting my peers. Um, but in terms of, I just printed, I don't know where they are. I just printed some sketches that I did, humongous. And I used an AI tool to sort of like render the drawing better so that when I printed it, it would be better quality, so that I'm really getting into printing my digital stuff big, pinning it to my art wall, and then manipulating on top of it so it's becoming a unique original piece of artwork based on something that I'd already made. So we'll see when it comes to AI. I'm not deep in it yet, but I'm watching. I ended up here at the ACA by magic. I think I randomly saw a post somewhere. I don't know if it's on Facebook. I didn't even know the ACA was here. I just knew that I needed a space to be creative and be out of my house, away from my family, play music loud, and just have no one bother me. And I wrote and said, hey, I'm interested in a space. I'd love to come interview, and set up an interview. And I met Pam and Annalise, and which ended up being my studio, and they interviewed me, and I just waited for them to get back to me, and they were like, yes, you can get the studio if you want. And I was flabbergasted. I was so excited. Like, oh my gosh, I have my own space to just be creative, and then to be in a space that's just creative and have creatives around you. And even the kids, I love seeing the kids in their classrooms. They're sometimes next to me in the summer, especially, or in the evening, and just how they think and process stuff. I feel very grateful I stumbled across that and ended up here at the ACA. I love it.
Great.
I think at this point in my life and my career, I definitely make my art for myself. Took me a long time to get to the point where I was making it for myself. I think one of the things I realized when this situation happened with Instagram and all this attention started coming towards me, I sort of lost why I was posting. And I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta keep all these followers. I gotta post something, and I gotta hashtag it properly. And I got lost in the shuffle of, wait, am I posting this for me? And do I have to post? And what does this actually mean? And, why am I doing this at this point? So I feel like I've hit that curve, and now I'm just in a stride of like, anything I make is for myself. I don't, even when it's a commission and whatnot, that I'm pouring myself into it. This sounds super cliche, but one of the most fulfilling things about my career or ability to actually make art, because I realize this isn't just something that people get to do all the time. I feel super grateful and super lucky that I have a space that I can do this, that I have time that I can do this, that I've actually semi made a living out of being able to sell and make art as not only just fine art, but advertising or marketing pieces. I am super grateful and feel the biggest thing is having my 3 daughters watch me, and having at least one of them right now be interested in the arts, but to see that there are different avenues that you can take in your career and your passions, and if you chase them, you can carve a path for that, whether it's the biggest thing you do, the smallest thing you do, but it can always be a sliver of who you are, or how you want to chase that dream, and champion for yourself, I guess. If I had advice for young artists, that's a really hard thing to answer. I think finding someone that you can talk to that believes in you and what you're making, and how to maneuver this space is important. I think even just in my professional career, as a creative director and whatnot, when I'm able to tap into a super talented younger person, my goal is always that they will surpass me if they haven't already. But just how do you navigate this space? Like, what is your next step? Like, what are you thinking about, and how are you preparing for that? Or if it's a younger person, which occasionally reviewing portfolios at Mass Art, I will ask kids, illustration majors, like, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? Like, how are you preparing yourself for this? And listening to kids talk about their work and their story, like, tell the story of the thing you're making and make it a story. Like, don't just show me the art. Like, I know what assignment you're doing. I know what that means. But if you were going out in the wild, how would you sell this piece of work? Like, you have an amazing story. Tell it. Like, people are intrigued and amazed at who you are bringing this thing to life. That's the soul of the work, I feel like. So have a story. Tell it somehow. Find that older mentor to help you, and that older doesn't mean like me. It can be like a 25-year-old. I mean, just somebody that's been through stuff that can help you navigate and course through that. If people are interested in learning more about the Arlington Center for the Arts, the artists here, in particular myself, you can find me at _collage on Instagram. My website's mollyscannell.com or a-collage.com. But I'm happy to answer any questions for young folks out there. Happy to answer questions or curiosities around my art or learn more about me. We do have open studios in November. Hope to be open to see anyone that wants to walk through. I've met a bunch of folks there already. But yeah.
ACMi productions are only made possible with your support. Visit patreon.com/ACMi to learn how you can help.